Good afternoon. Today is Monday, May 12th, 2025. It's 3:01 p.m. We're here for the regular trustee meeting. If you can join me for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have an agenda in front of us. Are there any changes or additions? If not, do we have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
Did you want to add new business, Tom?
Actually, yeah, I do want to add some new business. I'm sorry, I apologize. And two things I guess we can add to excuse Ms. Wallace and Mr. Zaharia from today's meetings. So new business, if we can, I'd like to add essentially just discussion regarding trustee meeting schedule for the balance of this year. Thanks, Don. Anything else?
I only have one minor change, which will be under the pay scale adjustment and human resources. I added the retroactive until April 24th on that motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Therefore, do we have a motion to accept as amended?
I make a motion to approve the agenda for the May 12th, 2025 meeting as amended.
Second.
Guess I get to fill those roles tonight, Mrs. Dean.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I apologize. I would also like to excuse Ms. Wallace and Mr. Zaharia from the meeting tonight.
Still second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kritz?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the general ledger report in the amount of $351,943.90 for the 4/16/25 payroll.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
And Mr. Kritz?
Yes.
I make a motion to accept the payment listing report in the amount of $792,842.12 for warrants through 5/7/25.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
And Mr. Kritz?
Yes. And we have minutes from the April 28th, 2025 regular trustee meeting and the April 28th, 2025 special trustee meeting. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve as presented?
I make a motion to approve the April 28th, 2025 regular trustee meeting minutes and the April 28th, 2025 special trustee meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
And Mr. Kritz?
Yes. And at this time, we open the podium up to any citizens desiring to speak. And seeing none, we'll close that portion. We have no old business, and under new business was just the item that I asked to add. So I'd like to just revisit a discussion we had earlier in the year. Actually, it was at budget time, I think, when we had that discussion regarding schedule. And so in comparing what some other communities do, comparing the spirit of why we shifted that schedule from our previous meeting time to the current 3 p.m. on the second and fourth Monday. Looking at what the county does as far as even a summer schedule, I'd like to propose, for the sake of efficiency and other reasons that we consider going to a summer schedule where we meet monthly, and we'll say from June through and including September. And make that meeting on the first Monday of each month, other than where it would fall on a holiday, and it would be the Tuesday thereafter, or the next consecutive day. And then essentially from October through the balance of the year, resuming our twice monthly meetings for regular trustee meetings, but shift those and still in the spirit of why we did it the first time, instead of having it on the second and fourth Mondays, have it on the first and third, and that would allow Mr. Zaharia a little more flexibility with his schedule as well. Doesn't compromise anything at the township, but then shift those meetings from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 5:30 p.m. So I don't know, Mrs. Dean, I did speak with Mr. Zaharia And that was actually his preferred time. So I had no issue with it. So he was willing to keep it the way it was, but to make it on the first and third made his life a lot easier with his other job that he has. One other thing that I'll point out is just in my discussion with individuals that are expressing interest in running for my seat, I was told by 3 different individuals that very competent, capable folks of running, but they have a day job, and all 3 of them said the exact same thing, that there's no possible way they could run for a position where they had to twice a month come in at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, either to run their business or to do their day job. There was no way they could do that. So, and then I was actually scolded by a handful of ladies that also felt the same way, that we were essentially limiting those that could run to retirees and business owners that had a flexible schedule. So,
I'm sorry, Mr. Kretz, the summer schedule, when were you proposing, what months?
I was proposing that we go June, July, August, September, and that we meet on the first Monday of the month at
Right.
5:30 p.m. And then recurring schedule then essentially would be, I guess in this case, October through December, or whenever the board would change it thereafter. And that would be meeting on the first and third Mondays instead of the second and fourth Mondays, and again at 5:30 p.m.
I have no problem with that. That's totally fine with me. It would also make my life easier. So I'm fine with that.
So to make that change, Ms. Frick, would we need a motion to do so? Because we had a resolution.
Yeah, we did it, we originally set the schedule at the beginning of the year by resolution, and I think probably the best way would be, I think you could make a motion, but I think we need to formalize it through a resolution that could then be posted.
Okay, that's
Should that
fine.
be done by amending the previous resolution?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd make a motion to amend the previous resolution, and then if we make that change, then do you have to redraft the entire resolution, or would you just make an amendment to that resolution?
I think we could just do it as an amendment.
Okay, so we could potentially adopt that if we go into executive session later and come out of executive session, we could have that drafted and done. It's pretty much a 1-sentence resolution at
Yeah,
that point.
if it can.
If
if we can
I should
print
be
it.
able to find it, so
Okay.
yeah, we should be able to do
But
that.
right for now, you would have a motion essentially to amend the regular trustee meeting schedule,
The resolution to,
amend the resolution, yeah, that was adopted, to change the regular trustee meeting schedule for the months of June, July, August, and September to meet on the first Monday of each month at 5:30 p.m.
Okay.
And then for the months of October, November, December, it'd be the first and third Monday of each month, again at 5:30 p.m. And I know the resolution had dates in there.
Yes,
but
that's-
we can
We'll have
Yeah,
to work
because
on that.
the September would be one that would be on the Tuesday then, because the
Correct.
first Monday's the
Yep.
holiday.
yeah.
My only last question, so then we would do any sort of public hearing or presentation following those?
Correct, which is what we used to do.
Yep,
Yep, and any hirings we could do before, or any promotion ceremonies. So if we had to do those, we could do those the half hour before,
okay.
or in between, whatever made sense situationally.
And that's,
Yeah, that's
So you could
fine.
just change the dates.
Yeah,
That'd
that's
be
fine.
great.
Yeah, just, well,
Or print it, yeah.
just have her print it and I'll run over and get it or something because,
okay, yeah, that's easier.
Perfect.
Okay.
So do we need to do anything right now, or do you want to
Do
wait?
you want to wait, or do you want a motion?
We can wait and then just do it as the
That's
amended
fine.
resolution.
Okay,
Okay, perfect.
all right, thank you. Okay, no other new business, go on to Greene County Sheriff's Office report. Sergeant Kessel.
Good afternoon, Board. Just a few awareness items for you. The Hamvention is May 16th, 17th, and 18th at the Greene County Fairgrounds. Of course, it does impact the traffic in the township heavily. We have deputies and specials that are working different posts, big intersections to help with that. Just so you're aware that it's a big weekend. Also, the Creek Classics at the end of this month. Once again, we've worked with our partners with ODOT and the engineer's office regarding the super street and making sure that the lights are in sync with that detail. And there's a nice picture of Mr. Earhart and I, community engagement event. For the first year, the sheriff's office has been doing it for a long time. We've taken the lead, and other agencies in the county also do it. But the DEA drug take-back event was the 26th. It was a chilly morning. We had pretty good participation, 2 large boxes full of medications that were disposed that the residents took advantage of. So it was a good event. We'll build off of that. We'll have another one later this year.
Good.
And then received from Captain Ing the April ACE Task Force, the Blitz on 35, focusing primarily in the township. You can read that, but of course, 47 stops, 29 warnings. They had an OVI arrest, 5 warrant arrests. They had 3 canines in use, including Maverick and Luke. 17 of those, 3 air sniffs, and you can see the drug activity on the roadway for that 8-hour block. So it was another successful event in the township. And then at the end, of course, the pack track report for Luke and Maverick for last month's activity.
Great. Question, and 2 things, a question or comment on the one, as far as the Hamvention, I know in the past, Sheriff's Office, and I think you brought it up, and also ACE Task Force, as far as human trafficking during the Hamvention, as far as just an awareness of that, and to try to do whatever we could to curtail that activity or abuse.
So those large events, you had Deputy Elliott in, the SWAT team member. They actually had small teams of SWAT team members and individuals in posts, high posts that can kind of observe and watch, see what's going on in the event, not only for safety, but that type of activity. So that's something the sheriff's office has been doing for probably the last 5 years, really with large events at the fairground or other places that they'll have kind of, if you want to call it, cells of individuals walking around, and that is something they're aware of, and they have plans for that.
Thank you. And then second is on kill care, and this was just an observation. I don't know if it was a one-off for the start of the season or the school bus races or what it was, but from a traffic standpoint, if you're trying to leave like where regional planning is or coming from Xenia back Dayton Xenia to Trebein, that was completely locked up. And then if you took 35 around, which a lot of people were coming, I did this the other night, I think it was Friday night or whatever night the races were. And then a lot of people were doing U-turns, essentially coming back and going out Progress to 35 and back down 35 to Trebein, then trying to come up of Trebein, and it was essentially, again, a log jam. And I don't know if with their new ownership or when that ownership change takes effect, if they can be encouraged to communicate when they have those major, and it's not an every race night situation like that, but with the big events.
We used to be more involved when Chrysler's owned it years ago.
Yeah.
They hired deputies to work that event, and that was one of the posts was to help with traffic, of course, on Dayton Xenia there. The newer ownership, I'm not sure if they're going to change hands again, but they went away from deputies.
They just did a press release over the weekend that they sold to International Hot Rod Association, bought them. So
Maybe this might be a good time then, maybe for me.
Just an
to reach
introduction.
out, maybe see.
And I know that's technically Xenia, but part of it's in Beavercreek Township as far as the property, and it affects Trebein, it also affects coming from Xenia. So I don't know how
If we
you
can
could,
become, maybe I'll make a point to become a little more aware of when those events are, and then
Yeah.
also the township deputy can be at least in the area to help with that.
yeah.
Regardless of-
At one point, it was 3 cars wide, 2 cars wide going east on Dayton Xenia towards Kilcare from Trebein, and 1 lane coming west to Trebein. And I don't know how you'd have got a fire truck or EMS or anything through there. You
It's a
couldn't.
mess through there.
So it was a mess.
Okay,
Just FYI.
okay.
So I don't know if we can assist in setting up a meet and greet and with the existing ownership, new ownership, or whoever it is, but just when they have those extraordinary events. It'd be, for anybody going there, it'd
Make a
be
note,
for
see if
their
I can
benefit as well.
Set something up, makes sense, sure thing.
So a lot of emotions on the road that night. Everybody was number one, kept telling each other, so.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I had none. Thank you for the awareness items. I know people like to know when those events are going on so they can avoid those areas. So,
Sure. You're welcome.
thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, human
I'd
resource.
just like to point out that Maverick was much more photogenic than either myself or Sergeant Kessel.
And we agree, and we agree. He's always smiling.
Absolutely.
All right. Ms. Sink.
Yes, so my first item of business this afternoon is the group retroactive renewal through the BWC. The reason it's before you is because it requires signature, requires us to contract with Sedgwick. Sedgwick's fee for serving as the third-party administrator for the group retro is $42.15. I gave you a lot of information that I'm happy to expand upon, or if you have questions, feel free to.
So it's retroactive because it obviously rolls back to March, but is it, why is it coming, I'm just curious why it's coming to us now. I don't remember it always being retroactive in the past.
Well, we're in a group retroactive rating.
Okay, meaning it's based on last year's
No,
experience, okay?
no, actually,
All right.
the 4215 is to administer for the 2026 policy year.
Okay,
We paid the 2025 policy year last July, so the enrollment isn't actually due until July.
okay,
And I just
but it's,
wasn't as on top of it last year as I am this year.
Well, and one of the reasons for the March 7th invoice and why you're seeing it now is because Mrs. Sink has wanted to go back through and look at it to make sure that the group retro program actually was to our benefit. And that's why you're seeing the spreadsheets and things
okay.
before you.
That's kind of what I was looking for is,
Yeah.
so it's not that we just received it, it's just we've had it, it's not due yet, we've been doing some.
And we're
due
working,
dili-
yeah.
Right,
You're
yes.
performing due diligence on it. Okay.
Yes.
Yep, makes 100%
And
sense.
so, yes, the point of the spreadsheet that I provided is just to demonstrate the savings that we have realized as part of the group retro program. And honestly, BWC is always looking back from the very beginning. They've been looking back to set up our premium. Well, now they look ahead to estimate our premium, and then they look back after we've performed to assess or rebate dollars. So we did get hit pretty hard this year with some assessments for the 2021 policy year. We ended up with a final assessment of 8.14%, and that was due to some firefighter cancer claims that became deaths in 2024. And so our group is all townships. It's under the Ohio Township Association. So 2022, again, we got a our rebate dropped to 4.4% for the 2022 policy year. Again, a result of a firefighter cancer claim that resulted in a death. There's one more review period for 22, so we're still ahead 4% on 22. It could be more. 23 policy year, we've had one review. There are 2 additional reviews. And you can see from our own claims experience that 23, we may be, if you keep going to the monthly, Mr. Earhart, sorry.
Sorry, I didn't know where you were at.
No, above there.
This one?
No, keep going down to the monthly report, the graph. of
Oh,
the
your monthly report.
Yeah. Right there. So you'll see 23, our claims, we had 19 claims. So that's gonna affect our group, but hopefully the rest of the group will perform better than we did. And so
Right.
we'll still realize some savings there.
But the lives lost to cancer you were referring to were in the pool, not necessarily here.
In the pool,
Right.
not our specific
Yeah,
claims.
but
And the question I had for Sedgwick that I really wanted to have a meeting about was, what's the benefit of this to us versus the group rating program, we were in previously. Well, the group rating program is by invitation only, and we didn't get an invitation because of our claims history for this year. So our options are the group retro, where it's a larger risk pool, or to just go it alone and bear the burden of our own claims without benefit of others maybe having better history than us.
And this pool that we're in is only Ohio townships, correct?
Correct. It's
Okay.
the Ohio Township Association pool.
Okay, and so is there a Midwest Regional Township Association where there would be townships from 3 or 4 states that are contiguous? Out of curiosity, I don't even know if that exists.
I mean,
but
I
I've never heard of one.
the reason I ask is if you look at and you say, okay, what does it cost to run a service at a local level versus at a county level versus at a state level? If you're amortizing the cost, and if you have a pool, and if you have a risk pool especially, the broader the base of that pool, oftentimes the lower impact that a negative experience would have on that pool. So my question would be, and it'd be to the OTA, not necessarily to you, is why aren't we part of a regional township association where we can say, okay, let's take Michigan, all the contiguous states around us, form one big association called a regional township association and go for a bigger pool?
I'm not sure if one of those exists or not, but I can say one thing is that different states do workman's comp so differently.
Right.
That might be
And that could
an
be part of
issue.
it. Yeah, it's a state issue. So,
Yes, that's what I was gonna say is, it's probably state prohibitive to go
Okay.
beyond our state.
yeah, certain things would still fall in, it's just a risk pool, but, okay.
So ultimately, my recommendation is that we continue in the group retro pool for now and just continue evaluating as these, annual evaluations come back on the claims history.
And you're satisfied that Sedgwick as a service provider is as good or better than any other option that we would have?
Yes, and they're our only option if we stay in the group retro rating program.
That's hard to beat.
Right, right. But they do a really good job. Mr. Preston is our account executive, and
Okay,
I emailed him and said, I need to talk about this, and he's like, okay, how about tomorrow? So he's very accessible.
good, okay. So we have a motion before us.
I make a motion 2025-0512-HR-A. I move to approve the township's 2026 group retroactive rating enrollment with Sedgwick in the amount of $4,215 and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Mrs. Dean
Yes.
and Mr. Kretz.
yes. It's not meant to feel like a deposition, it's just a discussion, but appreciate the answers.
Yeah, and that's why I like to have them, because I know you want them. And then, so the second, item on the agenda for HR is adjusting the assistant chief pay scale. There was some pay compression that existed for our recent promotion from DC to AC. And so this pay scale, which is grade 402 assistant fire chief, is to accommodate that pay compression and allow for at least some benefit to the DC for accepting the AC position. I think in total, it was a 4.8%, 86% adjustment over the scale that you approved for the budget this year. And it afforded the AC
2%,
just nearly,
almost 2%.
almost 2% increase in their current rate.
Okay, and so what step did we come in at?
The AC's in at step 5.
Okay. Okay,
Oh, and we do want that to be retroactive to the effective date of the promotion, which was April 24th of
Sure.
25.
okay. You have the motion doesn't say that,
Yeah.
but we can.
Oh, there's the one on your,
On the screen.
on the screen does.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I
That
see
was
where you
the change.
highlighted it, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
I make a motion 2025-0512 512-HR-B. I move to adjust the 2025 compensation and reward program for grade 402 Assistant Fire Chief, retroactive as of April 24th, 2025, as presented on the revised program sheet.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
And Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
And your monthly report, ma'am.
In my monthly report. Nothing extraordinary to point out other than the Lexipol and UKG ready boxes there, simply because both processes are consuming a large amount of my time, and you can see I had 6, 7, 9, 10 different work sessions or calls with UKG. But we are making some good progress, and we are still on schedule, fingers crossed, to roll out at the end of June. And then with Lexipol, a lot of those work sessions are just on my own. It's proven to be a lot more labor intensive than I originally thought. And so I'm working through, the chief and I actually had a call today with Lexipol reps to try to help us work through some of the issues that we're finding. So hopefully that one is not moving nearly as quickly as the UKG one, but
Okay.
it's coming along.
Okay.
Any questions?
I had none.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Community development and risk.
I have one action item, which is a motion to move forward the zoning commission recommendation for the text changes that allow us to do our public notices now via the website and social media instead of the paper. The zoning commission did hear that case and recommended approval as submitted. And I have a sample motion there for you.
Just as a
You wanna-
FYI, I think that should be May 27th.
I was gonna
because
say,
May-
do you want it May 27th or you want it June 2nd?
Oh, yes. Hey, guess what? There's a holiday. Forgot all about that. So that should be May 27th.
So do we make that May 27th or do we make that
Sorry,
June 2nd? Based on what we talked about earlier as far as the
Oh, yes,
resolution.
because
June 2nd, yeah.
Are we about to run into a conflict with promotional ceremony again, time-wise?
we could, yes.
I don't know if this is.
So will there be
Just at a specific time.
Will there be a second meeting for the month of May with our new schedule that we talked about? Because right now we hadn't started until June. So we'd have a meeting on May 26th and another one on June,
Well, this
So
would,
that
this
doesn't-
would be May 27th.
or May 27th,
Yeah.
yes. Sorry, May 27th.
Seems,
They'd be very close together.
yeah, silly to have both of them.
And so June
Would be
2nd
less than a week.
Yeah, June 2nd.
would be the next meeting.
Correct.
So however we want to do that. I mean, we're currently scheduled.
But we're talking about two different things.
Yes,
so
we are talking about two
Chief brought
different
up
things.
something different than this. So on this, the discussion is so long as, so what is our period of time to act upon the recommendation from the zoning commission?
We have to schedule it within,
we have to
Schedule it, not act
Schedule it, and then
upon.
once it's
Right,
scheduled, you
okay.
have to schedule it within.
So if this is scheduled for June 2nd, then a
Correct.
separate conversation is promotional.
Correct, higher
Okay.
promotional swearing
Okay.
in, so.
Okay. So let's,
well, the question I have then is, if we do the promotional swearing-ins earlier than the 5:30 meeting, it won't affect it any.
right.
And that was one of the
And
things
that's
that we
what
talked
we had
about.
just said,
Yeah.
yeah, was that we would do
So the
promotional.
promotionals would happen
So you're
at,
talking scheduling as far as the date or the time?
I was concerned with the time conflict, because
Oh.
that's what we've run into in the past, but the question, the date issue of June versus May is the other piece, obviously, so.
Yeah.
If we don't have the second meeting in May for the first meeting in June, the 5:30 piece, we could do the 1,700 for the promotional, and then, like you said.
I would move the, do any
But if this was
promotional.
gonna be on the 27th, before that happened,
we would have a problem.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I would, so to answer two questions at once, so I would do this on June 2nd. And
That's
then
fine.
I would do the.
After the regular
anything- after the regular meeting, anything promotional, and again, it's gonna have to be somewhat situational, but in a promotionals, I would do that prior to, so start early, so instead of at 5:30, if it can be done at 5, or it can be done at 4:30, or whatever would make the most sense. So, and if you wanted some time to think about that, we can make this motion on the zoning case, and you can think about that, and then when we would talk about fire stuff, we can revisit that one.
Okay, I've lost track.
So-
So when is the meeting gonna be?
June 2nd,
It is gonna be June 2nd?
correct.
So I would be okay with 1,700 on June 2nd if that works.
Sure,
Thank you.
So we would be canceling the 27th meeting
correct,
in favor of the 2nd.
correct.
Cool.
Yes.
I'm
We're saying the same thing.
I think we're all on board.
Yes.
The new meeting schedule threw us all for a loop, so yes. that-
You're welcome. Okay, so this essentially would be, this motion would be for June
June
2nd,
2nd.
and it would be immediately following the regular trustee meeting.
Correct.
Correct. Ms. Frick, is there any issue that you have a concern about on that?
No, we were looking at this draft
Okay.
resolution,
That's fine.
so,
Yeah, that's-
Okay,
or draft,
We're doing two things at once here.
yeah.
okay. So on zoning case, do we have a motion?
I make a motion 20250512-ZC-A. Move to schedule a public hearing to consider the recommendations of the zoning commission in case Z844 following the regular scheduled trustee meeting on June 2nd, 2025.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, and after that, I have my monthly report. You can see our activity there. Is there any questions?
As far as the revaluation from the auditor, do we have those numbers reflected yet? As far
No,
as-
they are not. I had asked for some new numbers, and I think the change is still, they're still figuring that out.
Okay. Yeah, because the last triennial was when? I'm trying to think. It's been 2 years ago now?
Yeah, and those were updated as far as the new numbers for the 24 reports.
Right, now I'm trying to think through of when, because residents typically don't track as their home goes up in value, they track their taxes go up. They
Correct.
don't necessarily track the home value, so if those home values, and I'm trying to remember what year that was, that would have been 2022, so that would have been the tax bills in 23 and then 24. And so residential was hit with roughly 30%, and commercial was hit with roughly 11% across the region. And then Greene and Montgomery were slightly different. So if that was 20, so is it next year?
Be next year.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Okay.
told for the
And it's just,
revaluations.
it's something folks need to have on their radar. So it's not like you can lower the value of your property, but, and then it also, as far as new requests for money coming in, as far as from a budget standpoint, I don't think, Chief, I don't think a triennial, what of your money would it affect or impact?
Historically, we've seen about a 1% increase, but I have never reverse engineered it to see where that came from.
Okay, just as far as the trailing end of the 10-year cycle, if we have another triennial in between, which we will, in between now and then, would we expect more money, or our money is fixed, it's just
Our
spread over?
money should be essentially fixed.
That's what I thought, so there's-
1%
there-
increase
you have-
is the new development, not the.
You have no variable funding that would be positively or negatively impact if the value went up or down?
Correct.
Okay, okay. I only ask because you have the biggest portion of the budget. I mean, from a road standpoint, we haven't got to you yet, but we wouldn't, so wouldn't have nothing there either, other than if we go out for anything additional. We pick it up on the additional piece. Yep, okay. Sorry for the math quiz. To answer your question, I had no other questions.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have our IT department. Your annual reports in front of you. Andrew's here if you have any questions.
I had none, thank you.
I had no questions. I'm just striving to get you at 100% on workstations by the end of the year. So I know you are too. So, okay. Thank you.
And the finance department, Mrs. Mullen's on vacation, so she's not here, but she did submit her report.
I had no questions on it, so.
I had none. Thank you.
Fantastic. And then we'll move on to public service.
Good afternoon. First of all, I just have the monthly report. Did anybody have any questions on that?
I had none.
Thank you.
Easy enough. Oh, I forgot one thing I did want to bring up though.
Your prop?
So this was something that one of our employees came up with when we were doing plow stuff. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put these in our salt trucks, in the winter, so that if we do plow damage, we will be able to put this in so that maybe we'll alleviate some of the phone calls. Plus it's just a good, community service communication with the residents to let them know that we do know about it. But yeah, this is one of the things that one of our employees brought up to me. I said, that's a great idea, so, this is what it looks like. So, other than that, the next thing I had was.
The only thing that goes out in the snow when we're
So,
plowing.
or once we get done, sometimes we know where we've done damage, we can go back
Okay.
and
So
put it in that area.
my only comment is I would change the color from white to something that would.
Well,
stand
yeah,
out
that
against
was,
the
so
snow.
this is, as we're trying to, this was a struggle just to get this in, let alone,
It's
but
a-
usually when we do damage, you can see a lot of mud, so this may still stand out
Okay.
more than we think, but yes.
It's one of those things where, yeah, if you want
Yeah,
it to be
so,
noticed, it
and
might
again,
be.
this is, we'll see how it goes, but yeah, this is just kind of it took us a little while to get these. I didn't think it would be that difficult, but it was more difficult than I
Good.
anticipated. So, the second thing I have for you is a resolution for surplus equipment. This all goes to the remodel. A lot of this is the stuff that we have replaced. So again, this is just the list there, and, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any on this list. If not, it can just be passed as presented.
Sorry, I'm going the wrong way.
And just out of curiosity, the Veradesks, I mean, do they not work or, cause we still buy
No,
those?
they still work. We've offered them up throughout the township. Nobody had any takers.
Okay.
Just some people just don't like to use them, so,
Okay.
they take up a large amount of space. And with nobody wanting to take them anywhere else in the township, we just designate them for surplus.
Okay.
Okay. Make a motion for resolution number 20250512-PSD-A, a resolution finding certain township equipment to be surplus and to dispose of.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Mrs. Dean
Yes.
and Mr. Kretz.
yes.
And then the last item I have for you is just the, contract for salt that we discussed prior. We did 24 and 25. This one's for 25, 26. And there was no price change, obviously, in the contract. So it's just a matter of, signing this and getting it back to them for the dates from August to July of next year.
Okay.
There's a sample motion on your screen.
Make a motion 2025-0512-PSD-B. Move to accept the salt contract with Cargill for the 2025, 2026 winter season for $72.63 per ton, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Mrs. Dean
Yes.
and Mr. Kretz.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
No more calendar quizzes, please. Before we jump into our agenda item, the first thing I wanted to do is just take a moment and reintroduce to you Dustin Harrison. He is our newest division chief, and just wanted to give him a minute to come up and say hello, and I appreciate your support in getting him promoted, so.
Awesome.
Good afternoon. Just wanted to say thank you for the support, throughout my career, but especially in this new position. Really looking forward to being an integral part of the administrative staff and kind of helping continue to move everything forward as we push to help the department become great.
Awesome. Thanks, congrats.
Thank
Be
you.
safe.
Congratulations.
And next, I'm actually pawning off most of tonight's meeting, so I'd like to invite Assistant Chief Hawker to come up, and she's going to discuss the proposed changes to EMS billing as well as the customer service satisfaction survey.
Great.
Good afternoon, Board. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon.
The first item I'd like to present is to request board authorization for the 2025 EMS billing rates. So every year we review these through our billing company, EMS MC, and they are recommending that we keep our current rates as is, no additional change. But they are also recommending that we add a billing category for the non-insured patients. So if you refer to the chart that's in your packet, we have the level of service there. We have the current 2025 Medicare allowable rates, our current charges, and then the 2025 approved charges, which are the same as last year, and then the additional category for the uninsured non-resident charge. So if you accept these details, we have a motion prepared for you, and I'm available for questions.
So the reason they recommended no change in any of the rates that existed prior to this request, is that because we're already, our comparables as far as peer communities were at that level, so or even our neighboring communities, so Kettering or
We're
Centerville
actually
or-
one of the highest in
We are,
the
okay.
area.
Okay.
So they don't recommend that we go any higher because it's not gonna make a difference in what we're receiving back.
Okay. And then do we pay them based on claim they pursue or claim that they receive money
Receive.
back?
Yes,
So it's
5.5%.
only of claims that they receive? Okay, so
Correct.
they must feel that the gamble of collecting on an uninsured resident, non-resident, I'm sorry, is worth adding to the column.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Because it's somewhat counterintuitive if you think through that the chance of collection is probably much lower than an insured
Yes.
motorist, so, okay. Or insured resident, I should say, non-resident. Okay. We have a motion.
Make a motion 20250512-fire-A. Move to accept the 2025 approved changes and the uninsured non-resident charge as presented and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Moved in second, and Mrs. Dean
Yes.
and Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
Okay, the second item is an awareness item, and the department through EMS MC with our contract have the option to provide a customer satisfaction survey through our billing company. So anyone who we transport, not the general public, will receive this survey after they've been transported. It goes with their bill. It's a QR code, I believe, that they'll be able to scan. The questions for the survey are provided in your packet. There are 8 of them. The 8th one is broken down into 8 more questions, basically, one being a free text question. This survey is something that they host and they maintain, and we are able to turn on and turn off whenever we choose. So if it's not going well, we can turn that off. It's also a part of our strategic initiative strategy 3.1.1.1, providing survey feedback to the crews. So that will check off one of those strategic initiatives for us, as well as we get all the results back. They do not go back to EMS MC. They come straight to the department, and we can use those for training purposes. We can use those for review to see how our crews are doing, how we're doing with our billing, and any portion of the EMS MC contract.
Okay. Just from a HIPAA standpoint, so there's no chance that becomes any type of public record?
No,
That survey?
no.
Because it's not it's not a record of the medical, but it's, yeah, so is the patient, is the person who's being transported, is their identity disclosed, or is it blind?
So those would come back to through our billing portal. So all the items that for HIPAA would be redacted if they needed to be redacted.
Okay, and you understand sensitivity of what I'm trying to
Oh, yes, sir.
protect, so as far as just make sure that, you know, person's name and everything isn't out there. Okay. And then, is that, when you say that you have the ability to turn that on and off, is that on a patient by patient or transport by transport basis, or on a time period basis?
It would just, so if we wanted to turn it off tomorrow,
You
our
could turn it off
EMS
tomorrow.
billing
Okay.
administrator could go in and turn that off.
And so that survey essentially is attached to a bill, you said, or it's?
That's correct. So when the patient is billed, they have that QR code that allows them to go to that survey, and they can answer any or
Okay.
all or none, or,
Okay. Do they or do we have the discretion to not send that to someone that deceased, that passed away,
that is correct. They would not send a survey to,
to the family member?
That
who-
is correct.
Okay. I'm just trying to think through sensitivity wise, so. Okay, but you think this is a good thing?
absolutely.
Okay.
Have you ever done a survey like this before attached to the EMS bills?
So we have not, we were in the process of putting a customer survey together through the accreditation process. That survey has not completely developed, and this opportunity came about, so we thought we would utilize this first, since we can implement it right away, see how that goes, and if we need to make any adjustments, we could develop our own larger survey or
Okay.
make changes from there.
When you spoke to them about this, I don't know if this is something that they provided you with, do they have other agencies that use this, that the surveys are completed and filled out? Do they have?
I do not,
Participation percentage, yeah,
yeah, I do not know that answer. I'd have to ask the EMS billing clerk.
just curious.
Yeah, I was just curious of how many people, actually went
Actually
through
fill it
and
out.
filled out the survey.
I would suppose that it's probably pretty decent, or they wouldn't offer the service, but, that's just my assumption, so.
Yeah, half participation is better than no participation.
Correct.
Allegedly, so, but there's no additional cost to the township for this.
That's correct, it's part of our contract.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, and it fulfills an objective of the accreditation,
That is correct.
okay. And you don't need a motion,
No, sir.
it's just an awareness. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Next, I have Chief Polis. He's here to ask for some professional development training.
Great,
Good afternoon, Board.
good afternoon.
This is something I'm really excited about, pretty passionate about, learning about leadership and things like that. And so it's something that we had started last year with the Grow Your Captains group, and we got some decent some benefit from that. But this is one of those things to go along with our strategic initiative to implement and develop a officer development program. This has taken us to that next level. So I was fortunate enough with your support to be able to go to OFE and came across this company, this firm called the Impact Group, and they're here in Ohio, and they offer a officer training development, or a training development, leadership development program. And if you see on there, there's a one-pager, and this would be, for a year, there would be 6 in-person trainings that they're about 2 hours, and so were interactive sessions, work sessions, where it's not just looking at slides and things like that, actually going through practical processes. And this portion is requesting is for the current officers of the fire department, so it'd be from the chiefs down through the lieutenants. And so with that, I did reach out to some local entities that have used this group before. Spoke with the the city manager of Bellbrook, and he could actually probably sell for this company. He loved them so much. He said that they were a fantastic addition. He had used them prior when he was in Huber Heights, and said that they did an excellent job for them. Spoke with Deerfield Township, and they were very pleased with them as well. So with that, at least looked into the background of them. Like I said, I had a really good experience with the owner of the company, and also Chief Harrison and Captain Brewer have both been experienced this group as well, and we all have high expectations for them, and they do a good job. Along with that, the second portion of this is to assist those who are on our lieutenant's promotional list. So as we're trying to develop the up-and-coming leaders of the organization, there is a portion on the Lexipol website that is done by Echelon Front. And so if you've heard of Jocko and those folks, they're top-notch in the leadership area. They have a series of 6 online trainings to help them lead and develop. It's good for a year for them to be able to utilize. So with that, that would be for the current 8 members on the lieutenant's promotional list. So the total overall for this is asking for $30,252, but looking out over the 32 total people, that's about $945 a person that we're investing into the leadership development of our officers and soon to be officers in the future. So with that, there is a motion, and I'm open to any questions.
So the proposal, it appears, so there's a portion of this that is, they come on site and it's in
Yes.
person, and so, and then as far as shifts and how does that work? Is there an overtime cost that's additional?
So there will be some overtime, yes, because they'll only be able to come out for the one day for each one, so there will be some additional overtime. But they also agreed that we can record it for those who cannot be here, so it wouldn't be that we would have to force anybody in or anything else like that. So we could record and just utilize for our internal purposes.
Okay. And then, is it actually a per person or per head charge, or is it a flat charge?
That's
if you
the
had?
flat charge for that, and that also includes, I had them add on there, 12 one-hour sessions, one-on-one coaching sessions. So if we wanted to have executive coaching sessions, if the chief or myself or anybody needed to have some one-on-one training, that is part of that cost as well. It's all included in that total.
And then is there, the last question, I guess, which could lead to a follow-on question, but may not. So, don't laugh. So is this a training that you would want your core group of people to do together with no other outside departments participating? Or is it something where there may or may not be benefit of having other township or other local departments that wanted the same training and wanted to help reduce our cost? Is it best to have our core group of people only? Or if you commingled and brought in folks from other departments that could cost share? That's why I'm asking if it was a
Yeah.
per person or not.
So, I guess to clarify on that, that price is for up to 25 people.
Okay,
So
all right, we don't need one more friend, that's fine.
you're welcome to join us if you want to.
Okay, all right, understand, thank you.
Make a motion number 2025-0512-Fire-B. Motion to approve purchase request number 25-Fire-0573 to the Impact Group and Lexipol for leadership and staff development training in the amount of $30,252, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second,
Been moved and seconded. Mrs. Dean
Yes.
and Mr. Kretz.
yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Board. I think the last thing we have on the agenda is our March monthly report. Probably the one big thing I wanted to point out from this month was we had kind of a crossover end of April and into May. We ran our first in years and years and years OIC class. And so this class was a NFPA compliant, so it used the NFPA standard outline for fire officer. And it brought content from instructors within the township. So the township administrator, human resources, myself, other officers, to basically cover all the different core areas of leadership from a technical and practical standpoint. And it culminated on Friday with a live burn where the candidates were able to take leadership positions in the live burn evolution. So it was a long time project that Captain Brewer has advocated and did the lion's share of the coordination and planning for it. So we appreciate his work on that, as well as everybody that contributed, including all of our captains, all of our chiefs, Ms. Sink, Mr. Earhart. We had great cooperation throughout the township. We had the auxiliary in for a session. So it was a great opportunity, and we're able to start developing, again, those folks that are in that process to be officers, and they're acting in the temporary capacity as OICs. So we're giving them some training at the very beginning to make them more successful. So beyond that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
If you had any questions or not.
I didn't have any additional questions.
Something that just came through from family relations essentially that are in a similar business. As far as EMS standpoint, the University of Texas and San Antonio are putting together and implementing carrying whole blood in EMS. And so I don't know if our
Being
department,
discussed here.
if this region has talked about that or not. So,
Yeah,
but the
it's-
benefits seem pretty extraordinary if it can be set up and managed properly.
My understanding is it's very temperamental as far as how it's carried, temperature control in particular. So if I had to guess, once they figure out how to handle that, then yeah, it will probably
Yeah.
be more widespread.
And that's what I asked, in 110-degree temperatures, how do you handle that? And
Yeah.
very effectively, apparently, so, but.
Yeah, I know Xenia at one point had some products that they had refrigeration units in their medics to be able to control. So if we go down that path, that's something we may be coming back and talking to you about. But
Good.
I don't think they're to the point of implementation yet.
Okay. That's all I had.
Thank you, Board. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay. Ms. Frick,
Yes, Board, if you would like, I went back and actually we did do the regular meeting calendar via motion.
okay,
So I have a motion that, if you want to do that now, we even can, I wrote it
Sure.
up. Although the prior motion said as presented, since this isn't in the packet,
Right.
I would recommend reading each of these couple dates.
sure, okay, we can do that. I'll trade you. Anything else you had?
Nope, nothing
Okay.
else.
So, and these dates are the new Monday dates?
Yes.
Okay,
And the motion's written on the back.
okay.
Make a motion 2025-0512-admin-E. Move to approve the amended Beavercreek Township regular trustee meeting schedule for the remainder of calendar year 2025 to the following dates. June 2nd, 2025 at 5:30, July 7th, 2025 at 5:30, August 4th, 2025 at 5:30, September 2nd, which is a Tuesday, at 5:30, October 6th, 2025 at 5:30, October 27th, 2025 at 5:30, November 3rd, 2025 at 5:30, November 17th, 2025 at 5:30, December 1st, 2025 at 5:30, and December 15th, 2025 at 5:30.
And just, did you say no, October 27th?
Yes,
Okay, I think that's supposed to be October 20th.
20th,
Yes, it's first and third.
amend that to October 20th.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Mrs. Dean,
Yes.
Mr. Kretz.
Yes.
I have a picture of that, just so I put them right in my calendar. Thank you.
Okay, MVRPC, is there any update?
Yes, I, talked to, Mr. Earhart about, some things from the MVRPC meeting. The Age-Friendly, Network, they're doing another round of funding for that, and then the RTIP, they're doing some funding for that, and that was due at the end of, the end of the month, I believe, for the, to enter into that if you wanted to submit anything. So I spoke to him about that as well, if there was anything that we would like to go for funding for to get those submitted.
Okay. Opioid Regional Task Force, and we did not have anything on the agenda, so we had a letter from the sheriff asking for support. So do you want to talk
Yeah,
about that
I've
now?
I've looked through all that stuff, but that will probably be on your next meeting.
Okay,
Well, actually, it won't be on your next meeting. At the amount that it is, I can just approve that expenditure.
but do you want to tell us a little bit about what the sheriff asked
Absolutely.
for? So-
As what I can. I might have to turn to Sergeant Kessel for some details, but basically, it's a machine that will be at the new facility, which allows the officers here locally to test the drugs as they potentially find them, to find out what the chemical composition of those drugs are, whether it be, marijuana or opioids or anything like that. The problem that they're running into right now is the closest testing facility is in, I believe, Chillicothe, Ohio. And so it's too far them to take those things out and get it tested. The problem that they're having is they're just ticketing those folks and then letting them loose until the lab results come back, which could be months later.
Right,
And then they're trying to track them down. They may have left. There's all kinds of problems. The sheriff basically says, I'd rather do that when they're in my control than have to go out and serve something later, in their environment as far as that goes. So it seems like a very valuable program and a very valuable tool for our local deputies to use. I did check to see if our opioid funds were in good shape, which they are, and that there's no major purchases coming up.
okay. And the ask essentially, so Sheriff Anger sent a letter out to, do I understand all of the townships or targeted specific townships? Or-
Basically, he's asking anyone he can
Okay.
for some money for this.
Okay.
He came and met with me
Sure.
and gave a specific letter to send out to the trustees.
Right,
What they asked basically for, the county commissioners, I believe, are putting in like 35,000. Kind of our ask was 10,000. I don't know if he's going all of them. I think maybe the ones where we have a substation or we have a specific police department or something along those lines.
okay. And then, the sheriff essentially has dollars that he's pulling as well?
Correct.
From his fund, okay.
It's in a letter to the health department. It was at the last meeting as well, asking for their support and
Okay.
contributions. So I think
Okay.
he sent it to anybody.
Okay, yeah, I had no
He's
issue.
spreading out the fingers as far as he can get to try and get that money taken care of.
Okay, yeah, I don't think.
But I think it's a very
unless you
worthwhile
had
program for us.
concern, I had no problem with it.
Sergeant Kessel feels so as well, as far as utilizing that for this.
That's what the dollars,
Or four.
intended. So
Yeah.
Sorry?
that's what the dollars were intended to
Absolutely.
support
Yes, sir.
those types of efforts. So,
Yeah.
okay. Regional planning, there is no report this week. And then health department, unless you had something from your side, so health department.
Yeah, like I said, the letter from Sheriff Anger, they had a presentation on nurse family partnership, but other than that was it.
Okay. And then school superintendent, city manager, administrator.
I've talked to the city manager from the city. They were kind of getting prepared for the fly-in and everything else. They have offered up any sort of support during the time, but I haven't had an official meeting with them.
Okay. The Restoration Advisory Board, no report for this meeting, okay. And Greene County Wastewater Committee.
I've heard nothing
report,
from them.
Nothing there, okay. Township Association, anything to report, anyone?
I don't.
Okay. And then Investment Oversight, no report. Greene County 911 Advisory. When will we have an actual response that we can provide to the county as far as why we are, essentially why the communications were not
I have
going?
one to share with you this evening.
Okay. Do you want to discuss it now, or do you want to discuss it later, or what do you want to discuss, or you'll share it?
We'll probably share it in the executive session.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, because I've been asked when we're gonna have a response that we promised. Is there anything else then to come before the board?
One of the things we may want to add is the Regional Council of Governments to that report.
Yep,
For the future. I did attend our inaugural meeting as far as just becoming memberships. I did express our gratitude for being one of those now and having the seat at that table. But there wasn't much that was discussed at this one. It was a pretty short meeting. They talked about some drones and some drone regulations that are coming out, which we may have to do something regionally with, but I think it's great. The other thing they talked about was potentially applying for some transportation dollars in the future as the government, as from the COG for the governments that all surround the base. So they can do transportation improvements on the roadways and repavings and that sort of thing.
Inside the fence or outside?
Outside the
Okay.
fence. So,
I'll say that's kind of our federal tax dollars.
Yeah,
inside the
exactly.
fence, yeah. Okay.
but yeah, if, as we go through and roads are updated and everything else, especially where there's been roads updated because of the base, seeking those transportation dollars.
Have they reached out to MVRPC or?
They have an MVRPC rep that
They have a
attends
rep,
that.
okay.
So
Yeah, I haven't
So
heard
from the
anything.
there's just talk right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
other than the initial presentation about being in the COG.
Yeah.
Because they touch what, Bath, Riverside, and Beavercreek Township?
As far as townships
Or
go,
in Fairborn? And do they touch Dayton?
a little bit, and Riverside.
And maybe Huber.
Okay.
Huber, Dayton, Riverside, Beaver Creek City, Beaver Creek Township,
Okay.
Bath Township.
And the only reason I ask that is it might be helpful at your next meeting to just ask that person to contact the reps for those communities that touch it that are part of MVRPC. And because then you can almost have a coalition of sorts to go and advocate for.
Subcommittee in WRPC.
Well, you can advocate for it a little bit
Absolutely.
stronger, so, so just something to think about.
So we'll start adding that to the agenda as far as the
Yeah.
report from that.
Okay, good. Other than that, anything else to add to today's collective knowledge? If not, we'll entertain a motion to go into executive session under Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G1, to consider the employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee.
So moved.
Second,
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
yes. Thanks, everybody. Okay, it is 5:44. Do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second,
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
And Mr. Kretz?
yes. Okay,
I make a motion to reinstate Ryan Rushing as Township Administrator effective May 15th, 2025, subject to execution of a last chance agreement.
second with discussion. And so just to revisit, we put the administrator on unpaid administrative leave effective, and that was on April 4th. And where we appointed Mr. Earhart to be the acting township administrator. And so, since that time, administrators been on unpaid leave. Mr. Earhart's been, and we appreciate, overwhelmingly agreed to step up and support staff and support the residents of the township. It's our understanding, and Mr. Rushing essentially, all of his compensation was suspended. He was able to use his essentially accrued leave during that period of time. But to our understanding, that he's burned roughly 208 hours of that time while his situation is being resolved. So it's our understanding that his situation has been definitively resolved, and that he will be available to come back and perform his duties. And he's has an impeccable record with the township, and we look forward to having him come back. So you can call.
Are you ready for roll call? Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes. Okay. Is there anything else to come before the board this evening?
I have nothing.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
And Mr. Kretz?
Yes. Great. Thank you.